Okay, so today what we're gonna do is we're gonna talk about equations. Now, you've seen equations before, but we're gonna talk about multi-step equations, no solutions, one solutions, infinite solutions. That's what we're gonna talk about today. Make sure that when you see them, you can identify them and go, oh, this is only gonna have one solution, this is gonna have no solution, or this is gonna have infinite solutions. So we're gonna go through. You've solved equations before. I've got a simple one up here for us to begin with. This is a one solution. We're gonna solve it, and we're gonna go into the others, and we're just gonna get to work, okay? So, one solution. Here's our problem. It's an equation. Remember, before we do this, remember that an equation has an equal sign, whereas an expression does not. So make sure you can identify between the two. So, this is an equation, has an equal sign, so it's an equation. And it has a variable in it so that we can solve for this variable. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to try and isolate the variable, get it all by itself. Now, again, you've done this before in your other classes, just a quick reminder of how to do this. So we have 4 times y plus 1 parentheses equals 40. So I'm going to use the distributive property here. There are other ways that you could work this, but that's the way I'm going to do this here. So I'm going to take and distribute this here and here. Remember, I'm going to distribute to each term. So I've got 4 times y, gets me 4y, plus, write that down, 4 times 1, which is 4, equals 40. Okay, so now I've taken one step in my equation. Now I'm going to keep doing this. So what I'm going to do is, remember that an equation is balanced. Sorry. You got to keep, what you do to one side, you got to do to the other. Right? So I want to take and I want to move everything away from this y. So I'm going to deal with the things that are furthest away from it first. So I'm going to draw my line. Okay? And I want to move this over here. Well, how do I get rid of that? Well, in this case, I can add its additive inverse. Okay? So add -4. I can add its inverse. So plus -4, plus -4. That'll cross that out. Right, because 4 plus -4 is 0. That's the whole point of that. So now I just have this, and I'm going to bring this down. 4y equals, well, 40 plus -4, subtract, keep the sign of the bigger number, gets me 36. But now I have this 4 times y equals 36, and I'm going to use the opposite operation to undo this. Well, the opposite operation of multiplication is division. So I'm going to divide by this 4. So divide by 4. 4 divided by 4 gets you 1. So that's going to leave me with the y. But what I do to one side, I must do to the other side. Since I divided by 4 here, I got to divide by 4 here. That's in order to keep this equation balanced. Okay? If you don't keep it balanced, it doesn't work. So 36 divided by 4, 9. When I get to this point and I have the variable that I'm trying to solve for all by itself and everything else on the other side, I'm good. I know that's my answer. So y equals 9. This has one solution. This is what you're looking for when you have one solution. Now you're going to have different styles of this type of problem. Some's going to have division in it, some's going to have subtraction in it, just different operations all included in there. Make sure that you can solve an equation. Okay? If you can solve an equation, this is going to be no problem. All right, we're going to move on. No solutions. So we're going to work this problem, and I'm going to show you what it looks like to have no solution. Okay? So once we get done solving this, I'm going to stop and I'm going to go, okay, this is what you're looking for when you have no solution. It's all the same as solving a regular equation until you get to the answer. That's what you're doing. So we're going to do orders of operations and then solve for one of our variables. So we have x, and notice we have it on both sides. We have a variable on both sides. That's okay. We'll move them together, but we'll do it once we start working through this problem. So we're going to do the things that we can do first. So orders of operations, parentheses 3 times 6 divided by 2 parentheses times x plus 10 equals 3 to the second times x plus 9. Okay, I'm going to follow orders of operations here, right? 3 times 6, 18. 18 divided by 9 times x plus 10 equals, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do this right here. This is on the other side of the equation, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. 3 to the second gets me 9x plus 9. Because 3 to the second is 3 times 3, which is 9. Okay? The most common mistake here with these exponents is trying to do 3 times 2. Don't do that. That's 3 times 3. That gets you 9x plus 9. Okay, so now I'm going to come back over here. 18 divided by, I put 9 there, that should be 2. Sorry. 18 divided by 2. 18 divided by 2 gives me 9x plus 10 equals 9x plus 9. Okay? Now, I can look at this right here and tell that it's no solution. And you'll be able to, once you get to this point, look at it and tell that it's no solution after I show you this next step. Okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move one of these to the other side. Okay? I'm going to choose this one and move over here. So 9x, I'm going to add negative 9x to this side, and I'm going to add negative 9x to this side. Now look and watch what happens here. Okay? Watch what happens here. This cancels out here and leaves me with a 9. Okay? This cancels out here and leaves me with a 10. But is 10 equals 9 a true statement? It's not a true statement here. So when you finish solving a solution and you don't get a true statement, you have no solution. So once you solve this, and you notice, hey, this is going to cross out, this is going to cross out, and these two things aren't going to equal, you know you have no solution. Okay? But until you get really comfortable with seeing that, solve it all the way down, so that you can see exactly whether you have no solution, one solution, or infinite solution. So 10 equals 9, not a true statement. 10 does not equal 9, therefore it's no solution. Right? That's what a no solution looks like. And it'll happen, no solution will happen every time where you get this does not equal this. Right? That's what you're going to get. So that's a no solution. Infinite solution. So if a no solution gets where they don't equal out, guess what the infinite solution is going to be? Well, they do. Okay? Now you're going to lose, you may lose your variable, or you may have your variable saying x equals x or something like that. But it's going to, at the end, it's going to be this equals that. Okay? That's what's going on. But we're going to show you. We're going to show you exactly what it looks like. All right, so again, solve the equation. Orders of operations do that stuff. Normal, then solve for your variable. That's what you're doing. All right, so we're just going to start. 6x plus, parentheses, 3 times 10 minus 8, parentheses, equals 22 plus, parentheses, 2 times 3, parentheses, x. Okay, perfect. 6x. Just going to bring that down. Plus 3 times 10, 30, minus 8, equals 22 plus, I'm going to go ahead and do this because 2 times 3, 6 times x, 6x. Makes it easy. Okay? Now, next part. 6x plus 30 minus 8 gets me 22 equals 22 plus 6x. Guys, look at that. This is exactly the same thing as this. Yeah, this is switched around, but remember your commutative property, you can switch those. When you get where this side is exactly the same as this side, you have infinite solution. Okay? I'm going to go ahead and solve this out just so that you can see it, because I want you to see what it could look like. Okay? So, there's 2 ways you could do this, and I'm going to split it up and I'm going to do it both ways. Okay? So I'm going to do 6x plus 22 equals 22 plus 6x here. And then I'm going to do the same thing over here, but I'm going to solve it a different way over here so that you can see both of them. Okay? So first things first, I'm going to eliminate the 6 x's. Or combine the 6 x's, is what I'm gonna do. Okay? That eliminates that. And it brings down 22. But it did the same thing over here, and so I got 22 equals 22. That's a true statement. I have infinite solutions. Okay? What that means is that no matter what number I put in for x, they're all going to work. Now they also call it the identity or all real numbers. So depending on what book you're looking at, depends on what you're looking at. For me, I like infinite solutions or all real numbers because there's identity properties that I sometimes get them mixed. So I like those, but it depends on who you're talking to or what you're dealing with. Okay, so all real numbers, infinite solution, those work for me. All right, so let's solve this a different way. So instead of doing the combining the 6 x's right off the bat, let's move the 22's together. So plus negative 22, plus negative 22. That cancels that out, that cancels that out. Now I've got 6x equals 6x divided by 6, divided by 6, x equals x. Because that becomes 1, that becomes 1, and 1 times x is x, and 1 times 1 is x. So either way, they get you to the same spot. It tells you that all real numbers work, infinite solution works. Okay, when I'm talking about no solution, real quick, because I forgot to say this, what this means is that no matter what number you put in for x, it's not going to work. Okay, that it doesn't matter what number you put in there, it will not work. Okay, so make sure you understand that that's what they're talking about, right? On the one solution, it means that only one number works. All right, so here we have a problem. And these are similar to some of the problems that you're going to see because one, you've done distributed property, you've done combining like terms, and now you've solved equations before also, so your problems are just getting a little bit harder. All right, but it doesn't matter because all you have to do is take it in small steps, okay? Follow your orders of operations. All right, so here's what we're going to do. We're just going to follow along and do them a step at a time, all right? So 3 times 22, 66, 18 plus 4, 22, or minus 4 to the second power is 16. I'll leave my parentheses there. 9 plus 7, 16 minus 1 equals, and notice all I'm doing is I'm taking one step at a time and rewriting it. That's all I'm doing. I did this, I wrote it down, I did this, I wrote it down, brought all this down. Did this, write it down, did this, write it down, brought this down, equals R plus, and you have 72 over 3 divided by 3. Okay, I just took it a step at a time, all right? So I'm going to do the same thing again. 66, and some of you guys are just going to focus here, but remember, this is the same thing as these being in parentheses right here, okay? It's the same thing, they're grouped together, they really are, all right? That's why I did that like that, okay? So, I can go ahead and do this division because this part right here does not affect this, but for orders of operations sakes, minus 16 divided by 16 is 1, minus 1 equals R plus 72 divided by 3 is 24. And that's what it looks like. All right, 66 divided by 22 should be 3R minus 1 minus 1 is 0 equals R plus, that gets you 8. And guys, I understand that some of this stuff you're going to go through a little bit faster. I'm hitting each step just so you can see it. Okay? So, 3R minus 0 is really just 3R equals R plus 8. Now I'm gonna move this R over here with this one, right? So now, all that was just orders of operations. That's all that was, follow orders of operations. Now I'm solving an equation, right? Add negative R to both sides. Remember what is in front of that R is a 1. That's a negative 1. That crosses out. So I have 3R plus negative 1R. So that gets me 2R equals 8, right? Subtract, keep the sign of the bigger number. Now I'm going to divide by 2. Divide by 2. This becomes 1. 1 times R is R, so R equals 4. That has one solution. Okay? Guys, don't get intimidated by large problems. Take it a step at a time, orders of operations. It's not that big a deal. Just follow along, nice and easy. Rewrite your problem. Make sure you rewrite it correctly, because I've done that and that's not fun, because then you gotta go back and find it. All right, so what we're gonna do now is we're gonna talk a little bit about some word problems. So you understand what one solution looks like, what no solution looks like, what infinite solution looks like. You understand what you're going to have as far as large problems and how to actually work with those. But now we're going to take a look and we're going to deal with some real world, what they call real world situations, right? Things that you're going to see. All that means is that you're dealing with word problems. That's all it is. Okay, so we're going to take a look and deal with some word problems here. All right. Mr. Hernandez pays $10 each month for movies delivered by mail. He can also rent movies in the store for $1.50 per title. Write and solve an equation to find the total amount Mr. Hernandez spends this month if he rents 3 movies for the store. Well, he pays $10 each month for movie delivery by mail. Okay, so the cost of the movie plan is a flat rate. That's the $10. All right. The variable is the number of movies he rents from the store. So the thing that you don't know is how many movies does he rent from the store. Right? That changes. That fluctuates through month to month. Okay. The total cost is the price of the plan plus $1.50 times the number of movies. So you're going to take the $1.50 and multiply it times however many movies he rents, and then you're going to add it to the $10 to find out the total cost. All right, so they tell you the total cost of the price of the plan. Oh, read that. Let C be the total cost and M be the number of movies. Okay, so what they did was they said, oh, no problem. What we can do is say C, the total cost. I would have used T because it made more sense to me, but whatever. They told us to use C, so we use C. C equals $1.50 per movie. $1.50 times M plus 10, the flat fee. So now they say, oh, well, he rented 3 movies, right? That's what they told us. If he rents 3 movies from the store, so you take that 3 and you substitute it in for M. So we have an equation here for how much it would cost you each month depending on the number of movies that you rent, or that Mr. Hernandez rents. Right? So we say, oh, he rented 3 this month, so 150 times 3 plus 10. Multiply those together, you get 450 plus 10. Add those together, 1450 is what it would cost him that month. This is something that you may have to use in your life to figure out the total cost of something. Okay? This really is what you do. Now, you do it in your head or you do it real quick on the calculator because you understand how that works, but this is real world application as to what you'll actually do. I've used this in my life. All right. Amelia drives an average of 65 miles per hour. Write and solve an equation to find the time it will take her to drive 36 miles. So it's 65 miles per hour. And she drove 36 miles. That's what you're looking at. 65H equals 36. Now how many hours did it take her to get there? Well, you solve for h. Divide by 65, divide by 65, h equals 36 over 65, and I'm sure that probably, I don't think that does reduce. No, 36 and over 65, I got a calculator over here, limit it the easy way. Yeah, I didn't reduce. I didn't think it did. Okay, so 36 over 65, and yeah, so that's going to be your answer. This is miles. 36 out of 65 miles. It's an ugly answer, but it is the answer. Oh, I'm sorry. Hours. I put miles. That's how far she went. That's how, yeah. Hours. It's going to take her 36 out of 65 hours. It's a weird number. I don't like that number. Okay. Moving on. There are some of these in here that we actually are really good. If I can find it again. Here we go. A conference room can seat a maximum of 85 people. The principal and 2 counselors need to meet with the school's juniors to discuss college admissions. If each student must bring a parent with them, how many students can attend each meeting? Assume that each student has a unique set of parents. All right, so when I first read this problem, I looked at it and tried to figure out what they meant by unique set of parents and all that stuff. But all they're saying is that each student brings 1 parent. That's what they're saying here, okay? What you gotta look at is this. You have a maximum of 85 people that can fit into that conference, all right? So whatever you do is gonna equal 85. Now, you have the principal and 2 counselors. So you gotta fit those 2 people in there too. So you're gonna be adding 3 people. And then you come back and you look and you go, well, we need to know how many sets of these people can fit in there, right? 1 student, 1 parent, because each student brings a parent. So 1 student, 1 parent, so that's 2x plus 3, okay? Took me a minute when I first read this to kind of come up with this because of the way that it's worded, because it's worded kind of weirdly. But this is what it is. It's 85 equals 2x plus 3. And now, if you want to know how many students you can fit in there, you solve for x. No problem. I can do that. -3. -3. Cancels out. Bring down your 2x. Get you 82. Divide by 2. Divide by 2. X equals 41. You can fit 41 students into there because each student will bring 1 parent, and then you have your 3 administrators that are there with you. Okay? Not a bad problem. After I read it, I really like this problem because it really makes sense after you really kind of read it. All right, last one, and then we'll talk about just a minute. The perimeter of a rectangular octagon is 128 inches. Find the length of each side. Okay, so what they like to do here is throw in some geometry stuff in there to make sure that you understand or retain that concept. So you got to make sure you can do this. All right, perimeter is just adding up all the sides all the way around of a regular octagon. That means that the octagon, all the sides are the same, is what that means. Okay, so the octagon has 8 sides. Well, if I want to set this up as an equation, I've got it equals 128, and then you have 8 sides, but each are the same. So this is the length of the side times 8 equals 128. That's what you have there. So now what we're going to do is solve. Divide by 8, divide by 8, that cancels out. X equals 16. once. 38, yeah, 16 inches. Because it's 128 inches. All right. You're gonna be asked to solve some word problems pretty regularly in this class, so make sure that you are kept up with the terms that they use in these word problems. If you have any questions about how to solve an equation, come see me. If you don't understand what no solution or infinite solution means, guys, come see me.